movie?
It was more of an organic kind of. I mean, yes, it's a little bit of that, but I think it was. I've been writing for many, many years, and I had a project that I co-wrote with this other woman who was really fantastic, and it was set up and ready to go, and everything was awesome, and we got financing, and then it all fell apart, which is normally how things go. And so I sit here and I'm super proud of this movie, but it's not like my first stab at something. I think behind every first feature, there's always a myriad of there's like a messy path, to get there, and I made a short film, Worst Enemy. You guys saw, I think, El Tonto, which is not my first short film that I made, that actually after I did In a World. But there's this other one called Worst Enemy, starring Michaela Watkins, who plays Danny in the movie. She's incredible. And I wrote something for her, and that went to Sundance. And that was sort of my first foray into making movies, and sort of believing in myself in that way.
But you have a long obsession with voiceovers.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole obsession with voice and sound was, is really real. I mean, as a kid, I collected accents like stamps, and I would be hyper aware of my own voice and other people's voices, and I remember thinking of accents and people who spoke different languages, just like incredible people from foreign lands. They were mysterious and amazing and better than me, and so it became an obsession in that way, just to sort of looking, even it was just friends of.
Does the part where you think they're better than you coming from the Upper East Side?
I mean, I go to therapy. Okay, it's all worked out now. But I was from the Upper East Side, and there was always New York always served as sort of a petri dish of 1,000 accents. Especially Upper East Side, you can be like, oh, that's kind of hoity-toity, but let's be honest, you share it with a number of different communities. I mean, that's also like Puerto Rico, as well as there's it's Upper East Side, New York City. You have no choice but to be bombarded with the coolest accents in the planet, all on the same tiny island, And I remember just taking the bus to my tutor and being like, oh my god, these people are mysterious, and wanting to learn how to do that, and felt like, some family friend was like, you got a good ear, kid, you should work on that. And I was like, oh, good ear, that's positive reinforcement, I'll just go with that. And then it sort of advanced to a more sophisticated version when I went to drama school, and you started studying voice and sound and blah, 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 and all that dumb stuff, and I thought it was hilarious.
But at some point it took to the extent of you carrying around a tape recorder and recording people,
all right? Full disclosure, that happened. That really did happen, and that's at drama school. I went to conservatory in England, which I know again sounds like rah-rah, but it's not. It was totally what you make of it. I did go there, and in the shittiest part of town, Sidcup, if you know it, it's bad. It's like really bad. I lived above a chip shop, which was always about to be like on fire. But but there was one thing that they did say, that if you wanted to learn an accent properly, you had to go out into the field and listen to it in its own environment without saying, hey, I like your accent. Can I ask you some questions and record it? If you said that, then everybody would all of a sudden be self-conscious about their accent, and then start to do something different. So, the lesson was, hey, go out into they basically spy on people. It was illegal. It's illegal. It's not the right thing to do. I did actually, there was one time I had to play a Bulgarian who was educated in England. I was like, how the fuck am I going to find that? So I went to the Bulgarian embassy, and I dressed in all in black, and I tried to record them. It was bad. I got kicked out. It's not the right thing to do.
Well, no, I actually know a lot about legalities of recording people.
I know, you should. Yeah.
Yeah, it's illegal in California, but not in New York, as long as...
Is that right?
As long as one person knows that they're being recorded.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But in California, you have to ask.
So you can keep it in your breast pocket in New York?
Yeah, you could keep it in your breast pocket, you can do whatever.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah. I'm not doing that to you.
That's okay.
But if I called you in California, if I was doing an interview, technically I'm supposed to ask you if I can record you.
Right. Well, I assume I'm just saying if you're walking up to someone at the bar in New York, technically you can have a recorder in your breast pocket.
Yeah.
Not that we all have, we're in the 1960s.
I mean, I hope there are no lawyers out there, but this is sort of what I've learned.
Are you kidding? This is a lawyers' community. This is the lawyers' convention. This is where lawyers come to see movies.
Correct me later. Have you recorded yourself and realized everything you were doing wrong?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're all guilty of that thing when we hear our voices on the voicemail and we're like, oh my god, I sound like that, which I feel it's so interesting that we all we're just all guilty of vocal affectation, whether we like it or not. I mean, I sometimes talk lower than I really should because I think it sounds cool and smart or something. So I'll be like, yeah, that's really interesting. If I'm on a panel with a bunch of dudes, or, I don't know. And then, sometimes on the phone with like my mom or my grandmother, I'm like, hi, yeah, okay, I'll call you back. It's so nice. I love you too. Mwah, mwah. It's like, what is that? It's just, we all have different personalities, and I think the voice is so interesting and telling, and I was always interested in the blind voice, like the idea that you could be anybody, is the ultimate acting. You could be any social niveau or gender, or gender, by the way. Like in the movie, here's a fun fact. The guy, Gustav Warner, Ken Marino, is always on the phone with his big, surly Jewish agent guy, Siegel. And that's me, we had it as, I'm always talking like that. Like that all was because in the edit, I was like, we'll get a great character actor to do that. And my editor was like, yeah, I think you should. By the way, he's like poker face guy. It's so hard to get a rise out of him. But anyway, he was like, yeah, no, you should definitely get someone else to do it. And I was like, yeah, obviously, it's temp. But it sounds pretty good, right? Like, it's pretty funny. And so eventually I was like, you know what? I'm the fucking director. I'm keeping it.
Is that your proudest moment?
Totally. I mean, it was, I did like the idea of like, putting some actual voiceover in the movie, that I was doing.
Since you wrote this movie, I mean, were you writing things that you've always just wanted to do? Were you just throwing shit in there?
Oh yeah, I mean
like what specifically?
Well, this movie it's total fantasy. I do aspire to be one of the great voiceover artists. I have yet to kind of conquer that in any capacity, but definitely, all that sort of, the bristle brush kind of, technology, all that bullshit, is, I mean, like, I've always wanted to play a big, surly Jewish Asian guy, these are the things that I wouldn't normally get cast as.
And are you getting more, you've done voiceover?
A little bit, but I mean, really modestly. It's like, my voiceover resume is not fancy. I did everyone's like, oh, but you did Shrek 4. I'm like, yeah, I played witch number 5. Where, I just was singing to Donkey I was like, yeah, it's not great. I mean, it's fine. I thought it was fun, but I have a part coming. I'm playing Mona Lisa and Peabody and Sherman in the DreamWorks animation movie, which is it was the jazziest experience ever.
Mona Lisa talks.
Oh yeah. Well, because it's DreamWorks. It's animation. Everybody talks.
But so currently you've not achieved your dream of doing a movie trailer voiceover.
No, I'm sorry. This is a 93-minute audition for me to the voiceover community. So if there's anyone here.
No, I'm just surprised because you've done a lot of press for this movie and you've said that in pretty much every single time.
I know.
And
Nothing's
coming.
Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me that I have not.
I just thought, we need to shame these people into working.
No, I know. No, it's okay. I mean, it'll happen one day.
Did anything come from the New York Mag cover?
My husband took me on a date night. A lot. I mean, other than just that. I mean, no, I will say the New York Magazine cover was an interesting moment because obviously it's not hilarious, and that I'm in the business of comedy, and it's sort of cool and naked. And I'm fully aware of that, but it did feel kind of congruous with the message of the movie in a way, because it just sort of happened. This was not a planned thing. The night before they were shooting this, it sort of came together. And yeah, no dieting, just sucking in. But what was interesting about it was that there were some sort of people saying, hey, for a female filmmaker, why do you have to be naked on the cover of a magazine to promote your movie? And the truth is, the movie was already out. It was, made me think about it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, well, I don't think a lot of guys get asked to be naked on the cover of magazines in general. So I don't know if a lot of male directors get asked either. It's just a thing. Maybe they're hairier. I don't know. It's just not a thing. And there is a sense of female empowerment and sort of boldness that's just it's not like it's Penthouse, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's very beautiful. I did it with my husband. My husband did the art on it. Well, I'm looking at it because I'm like, I'm having some, no, I don't want to hold it. It's fine. I've seen it. It's fine. But yeah, I just felt like it was, it also brings up that subject of female sexuality and femininity doesn't have to cancel out intellect or, sort of achieving something, And it is a complicated subject, but I like conversation, so I thought it was the right thing for me.
Well, and you also seem like you really want to tackle the role of women in film and sort of the prejudice that comes with voiceover work for one thing, but I'm sure in other areas.
I think there is there is this sort of like quiet glass ceiling that still exists. I love that there's a dog here. It's amazing. It's my first dog audience member.
Can the dog ask a question?
Yeah. Is there anything that you need to know, you bitch? But there, I think, speaking of bitches, I definitely wanted to, bring to light certain conversations about the glass ceiling that exists in the voiceover community and quite specifically the movie trailer industry, because obviously, have you ever heard of a woman doing voiceover on a movie? No. And I wasn't saying, there should be more women doing voiceover on movie trailers, this is horrible. It wasn't like that. It was just, oh, that's interesting. Let's discuss that. And also tackle a question which is, this sexy baby vocal virus, which, is another sort of fair discussion in this current day and age, and is more of a vocal zeitgeist or so. But yeah, I never want to preach to anyone. I don't like to be fucking preached to. So,
they're saying we should get the audience involved.
Oh, wait a second.
Yeah. Anybody got some questions for us?
They're like drunk and full.
We like drunk questions.
It's fine if it's stupid. All right.
I apologize because I'm not drunk.
It's not okay.
In the movie, which was just the decision to have Gina Davis's character tell you weren't the best, which I thought was striking, and wondered why you decided to do that.
I think I'm really interested in women because I am one, and I find women so interesting, especially in success. And women in success are more complicated than men in success when they look to their peers, because there's this thing of not being able to, because men have been successful for longer, I sort of feel like when I'm trying to get up and seeing fellow kind of powerful women looking down and saying, hey, I'll give you a hand, that doesn't happen as naturally. So I was always interested in this conversation of a woman wanting to give help, and give credit where credit's due, but sort of feeling like, I'll wait till you get up here and then I'll talk to you. You know what I mean? And I've felt that in my own life, where it's a little bit harder for women to feel utterly open arms and I'm going to help you, even though I've made all my successes on my own, but with no one else's help, I'll help you. It's like a harder conceit. And so I liked Gina Davis taking her character taking on this place of like, I'm a powerful woman. I'm sure you look up to me in some respect. But I'm not going to give it all to you. And frankly, you weren't best for the job, which might be true. And that's okay. But then it all of a sudden made Carol, I hope, realize in that moment that I don't know if I want this. I don't know if this is my dream. This is sort of a dream in vain. This is my dad's dream. This is icky and it feels weird. My moral compass is being challenged. I don't know. It was that. It's not always clean. Life is not like that. Like, hey, everything's good. She's gonna help you. Fuck that. That's not how it works.
And did Gina Davis herself sort of relate to that? Was she really into doing the role?
Yeah, I don't know if, I'm assuming, I don't know, maybe you don't know, but Gina Davis has the Gina Davis Institute, which is dedicated to how young women are portrayed in media and for young ladies. And I did not know that when I cast her in this, which was totally ironic. I pretended, obviously, that I knew that. At the line, she was like, "So you know I know I'm here," and I'm like, "Wait, why?" You know, it was really embarrassing. And then she told me about her institute, and that was a wonderful, happy accident. Same with Fred Melamed. Didn't know he was a voiceover for 20 years of his life. Yeah.
You just thought he did a really good audition.
No, he didn't audition for me. I was obsessed with him because I saw, A Serious Man, and he played Cy Abelman in such a masterful way, and his voice I was believable. I was in love with him for the part, and then he was like, "Well, I'm assuming I'm here, because of," and I was like, "Yeah, obviously." Yeah. No. What? Do you want a tea? That's exactly how it was. But anyway.
What was the greatest challenge for you directing and acting in the movie?
The greatest challenge, I always say the hardest thing about writing, directing, and acting at the same time is writing, directing, and acting. It's not one thing. It's the amalgamation of all of those jobs and feeling like I want to make every human on the set proud and happy and feeling good and creative and having a good time. I mean, that energy is intense, but all it takes is preparation. It's just intense preparation. Like when you're in school and you do homework, it's like that times hundreds. And comfortable shoes. Because it's very active. I always think of filmmaking as a super athletic sport. There's a team, you're running around, but you're managing yourself and a bunch of people, and it's supposed to be fun, and it is fun. But it is, the responsibility of being on the front foot is profound, and I take it very seriously. And especially all the people that are working with me, I always make sure that they're having a good time. But preparation when it comes down to it, for years, yeah.
How early on did you go for financing? What did you have the story written, or how far along were you?
Yeah, I delivered a spec so I didn't sort of tell anyone I was writing the movie. I didn't want to tell anyone until I had, I could hold it in my hand and deliver it, because I judged myself a little bit about being like an actress who was writing a screenplay, until I was just an actress who wrote a screenplay, and stopped judging myself about it. So once it was done, I delivered it to my agent. I was like, I want to make this, and initially I wanted to produce it and star in it, and be the writer, and that was it. And we were shopping for directors, and then we were, at the same time, we were simultaneously sending it out to financiers and financing entities, and then if anyone, had a bite, then you'd go in, take a meeting, and then my agent said, "Why don't you direct it?" And then I ended up directing Worst Enemy, which was that short film I was telling you guys about, that went to Sundance. And that became sort of my calling card, and as a filmmaker, visually what I wanted to do, the type of comedy, the musicality of kind of the type of story I wanted to tell, and that's priceless. I invested myself, I paid for it myself. It was a group. It was, yeah. So that's how it started.
And your husband was an art director, or
No. He just the only thing that Scott is one of the mutant animal. The male mutants. I don't know if you know him, you would have spotted him during that time, but he got suckered into doing that. And he also painted. We had nights where we would, it costs a lot of money to license artwork just for the background, even of any scene. I'm sure some of you guys know that, but so we spent late nights kind of painting really bad, bit of Heath Carings and bad fake Basquiat's and Picasso's. It was really funny. For Gustav Warner's house. So there's a huge, if you see the movie again, listen, it's your choice. But there's, in the back of, when the two Russian ladies are talking, it's like, Mimi, Allah. In the back is a huge butt plug painted by Scott Campbell. It's original.
But where is that painting now?
It's in my private collection. Great question.
Were you inspired by Angela from My So-Called Life with the
I mean, somewhat. I think, the wardrobe and the choice of overalls et al. Is somewhat, what I was at sort of 16, 17, and I like the idea that Carol was sort of in this arrested development, and the last time things were going great and forward moving was during a time where she would have had like a Nirvana poster on her wall, So I quite like that aesthetic. I like the idea that, she's still holding on to that, and stuck in the mud of the zeitgeist that you can still live at home at 30, So, yeah, and honestly, it was just, I love dyeing my hair colors and doing kind of things, and I was the director, and so I was like, you have to dye your hair. I'm like, no, all right, I will. So it's just an excuse.
Can you talk a little bit about your cast? I mean, there's so many amazing comedians, and who came to the project by a personal relationship or just through casting? I mean, you're saying with Fred Melamed and Gina Davis, they were cast.
That was, Fred Melamed and Gina Davis were more cast, and then I'd say the rest of the cast. Oh, and also Stephanie Allen, who plays Nancy, who's super funny. She is someone I met through casting, but then everyone else are really good friends of mine. And I was very lucky to sort of cash in every fucking favorite chip I had. I just did it. I was like, this is where I'm going to do it. I'm like, Cameron, I got to talk to you. And then I was like, Michaela Watkins, I wrote that for Michaela Watkins and Rob Corddry. That was written for them. I was obsessed with them playing it. Ken Marino, Dimitri Martin, Tig Notaro is one of my dearest friends. It just, it was one of those moments where I wanted to be surrounded by my friends too, It just makes the whole process so fun. And if you have friends who actually believe in you, that's it makes for such a happy family, So I was very lucky. Eva Longoria too. She came in for 2 days. The pre-shoot day where she plays the, stupid slapper, and then she comes in. But yeah, everyone was such a good sport.
The parties must have been good.
The parties?
Yeah.
We had a karaoke party, it was like chill, low budget. So it was only one party, We didn't have a premiere or anything. We didn't have things like that. But I'm here. This is like my premiere.
I wanted to ask if, with working with all those comedians, was some of it improvised, or had you really scripted all the dialogue?
You know what? It's a great question, and I always take it as a compliment because it's like, oh, it's so natural. Was it improvised? It's not improvised, but I will say that there are parts, like there are little cherries that, for instance, like a button on a scene will be an improvised line. When Nick Offerman says, I'm sure they just did oral. That's Nick Offerman, which is great, and you keep that in. But the truth is, improvisation requires, it's a luxury. Even on Children's Hospital, for instance, people always ask us if it's improvised. There's no improvisation. Because, occasionally there'd be moments, where for whatever reason a line's not working, so we gotta workshop it for a second. But economically, we can't afford, we're moving too quick, I shot this in 20 days. I don't have time for let's just feel it out, I don't know, I want to play, there's no cracking up even, if someone starts laughing, it's like, oh God, no, reel it in, please. I can't, I'm losing the light, The only time I lost it was when Ken asked to he pulled me aside and he was like, listen, can I talk to you for a second? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He's like, I wondered, could I French kiss her nose? And I was like, yeah, of course. Let's try it. So we did it, and afterwards I was like, oh my God, I can't stop laughing. I had to when you have to push your, and then afterwards I was like, hey Ken, can I talk to you for a second? He's like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, if you're gonna do that, can you do it twice? Just because sure that they know what you meant. You know? And he was like, yeah, of course. But you can see, like, if you see, I'm kind of like, it's so delicate. It's so delicate. It's so hard. And I was just thinking, oh, like, you can't laugh. Oh, God, that's like $1,000 right there. Stop.
Can you describe the sensation?
Of your nose being French kissed? It's not good. It's not really a sensation. It's more like, can I get a tissue?
I don't necessarily want to ask you about your upcoming project, but like, because that's a weird question always, but are there
It's not that weird.
or like subjects that you haven't seen addressed in other movies that you'd like to work on?
Well, I'm writing my next feature right now, so it's a pertinent question, frankly. But yeah, I mean, I am filled with, and sometimes cursed with, a wealth of ideas, in the sense that, you know, there's so many things I want to do. I'm so excited to muster up another, you know, world and a set of characters. And I just turned in my first draft of my next feature, which I've worked on for 2.5 years. So, you know, just to remind you know how it is. I'm sure there are writers here, but it just takes a while, you know. And I'm excited to start my next draft on that. And then there's other projects that I'm developing. As an actor for hire, I've done a number of, you know, handful of things that are coming out. But as a maker, you know, I want to nurture and pay great respect to the opportunity that I've, you know, been given and that I've created for myself, and I don't want to sort of dial it in for the next one. I'm gonna take my time. Not too long, but you know.
So not to put you too much on the spot because you're avoiding it, but can you give us a hint about what it's about?
You know what, it wouldn't be cool,
Yeah.
because
Got
you know
it.
what I mean, like, because it's also in its embryonic phase. So if I told you what it was about, you'd be like, and then when the movie comes out, it'd be utterly different. So I mean, you know, drafts are about evolution, and it's just gonna, you know, it's the sloppy copy. You remember that in school? Did you have that? It's like when you just turn in something that's the first draft. My mom reminded me of it today, literally. It's sloppy copy, so it's like no judgment. Like, if it sucks, don't worry about it. But if it's good, then it's like, good for you. Nice job on the sloppy copy. It's not called sloppy copy, but maybe.
I feel like those are my final drafts all the time.
Sloppy copies.
Yeah.
Did you pick out Nick Offerman's wardrobe and fedoras?
And if so, why? You know, I definitely, I mean, actors love to be involved with wardrobe choices, so because I'm an actor, I knew to ask these sort of maniacs that I had among me, you know, if they'd like to inject their theories on it, and he absolutely was like, I need a Celtic cross from every look, you know, and I was like, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But the whole theory was, I sort of said to him, I was like, look, I think that for whatever reason, Henners isn't close with his family. He's really globbed on to Mimi's culture and the Russian community, and he feels very at home there. And whatever that means to you, we can depict within a wardrobe. So he actually was particularly keen to get up in that Celtic cross situation. Just a little too tight, you know? Just a little too tight. So he's amazing. This guy.
This being your first feature, what do you look to for, you know, to call it a success? Like, obviously it's getting great reviews, it's a great movie, but, you know, at what point do you know that, or you feel that you've really accomplished?
Honestly, I take every day of this situation as a success. I think, you know, I never even thought of the other side of this, which was like when people would actually like purchase popcorn and go to see the movie. You know, like that was so far away, you know. And now that I'm here, it's so romantic and I enjoy it. But the success of it, I think, started from getting someone to shake my hand and say, I'm going to give you money to make this movie, you know? And then on the other, there were multiple successes. So then on the other side, when we're like all at the karaoke rap party singing, we just fucking got it in the can, you know? And then on the other side, when my first audience sees it, which is like 3 people in my edit room, which is like the size of a tuna canister, you know. We're all sitting there and they're like, yay, you know, and they're just happy to see it. I'm like, another success, you know. And then, you know, being in my apartment and getting the call from Sundance saying, we'd like to have you come. That's not how they say it, but the point is, just for the dramatic effect, you understand. And that, I mean, with the tears, another success, you know. So when I think of, I tend to not think so much of, you know, numbers at the box office. You know, it's less of, or how much money you're gonna make. You know, it's like that's not why we do it. You know, it's like I told you with the music, it was so important to have that music. You know, whether you make, you're not gonna make boatloads of money, so it's not money that determines the success. Certainly the critics' reviews was profound and, you know, worthy of tears. You know. But not because, oh God, I just want to stop it up, but just because it's like you work so hard on something for so many years, and then somebody else says, hey, good job, kid. You know, it's like in the movie, you know, if Carol just had, you know, look, I got daddy issues occasionally, okay? I'm working through them. But the point is, having someone say you did good, or, you know, we enjoyed it, you know, even just you guys, you know, clapping at the end. I mean, I have successes all the time. So I know that sounds a little cheesy and corny, you know, kind of, oh, it's so romantic. But I'm being genuine, and that's the truth. So, hey.
Growing up in New York, what made you choose filming it in LA rather than?
I wrote it. Oh, hi, Texas. Hi. This is amazing. Look, another dog. I think, initially I wrote it to be in New York. So my first draft of it, it was all New York. I wanted it to be in New York. And then when I started to, you know, be serious about making it, it was very obvious that there was no goddamn reason it should be in New York, other than I just wanted it to be I wanted to shoot in New York, you know. But, so, you know, those are like production drafts where you have to like amend things like that, because everyone wants to shoot in New York. My next movie is in New York, for the record. Yeah. So I can be with the dog and that kind of.
And are you going to make the film within the film? Is that, you know, a life goal?
Oh, you mean the Amazon games?
Yeah.
It's so funny because when we shot that,
And how'd you come up with it?
What?
How'd you come up with it?
I was obsessed with the idea of you know, obviously we've all been influenced by the myriad of movies that are of that ilk, and you know, I thought I like they did quadrilogy, and so I was like, all right, if I'm starting there, now I'm gonna write the most absurd copy for a huge movie that actually mirrors what's going on with Carol and these, like, you know, female Amazonian powerful creatures that are being, you know, sort of protecting their motherland. Yeah, if you have to pee or go, you guys, I have a thick skin. Seriously, no, I mean it. It's fine. We're not like best friends. It's fine. I'm not gonna but yeah. So Amazon Games is something that I think, you know, after we shot it with Cameron, the little, like, we went out to the desert and with a bunch of people, and it was so much fun, including my husband, who's right there. And we went out and kind of shot this ridiculous thing. And she was like, oh my God, we should make it. I'm like, yeah. Are you serious? Because I will make it. Like, if you're just joking, like, obviously I'm joking too. But yeah, so that's my next project.
Alright, we only have time for one more if there's anybody. And if not, then we will.
I just want to say I thought it was brilliant.
Oh, where are you from?
What did your dog think?
It was just really amazing.
Thank you.
Really inspiring.
Oh, thanks. I am very glad to hear that. Thank you for being such an awesome audience.